At ISG, we've built our firm on ingenuity, innovation, and virtualization that has fueled projects across the nation. Through integration with virtual software and desktops to Autodesk, ISG has helped support efficient architecture, engineering, environmental, and planning solutions that have positively impacted communities and clients for the past 44 years.
Hi, I'm Chad Serfront. I'm president of ISG. We look at technology as a way to differentiate ourselves. Historically, we've utilized technology to stay in front of things, be able to deliver our designs in a better fashion. And then over the last probably 5 years or so, it's been a huge transformational time for us. The way we've been able to use our VMware has changed our way of delivery from something that was at one time more of a geographic-centric focus, and now we've actually changed our company so much more to a client-centric focus. By utilizing VM, we can be doing our work absolutely anywhere throughout the world.
Looking for ways to intimately connect clients to their projects, ISG has worked to instill a culture that promotes collaboration and flexibility, which translates into better results.
ISG strives to not only continually push for success from our professionals, but also have technology that supports such efforts. We want to empower employees with an accessible and reliable solution that meets the demand for flexibility in today's workforce. VDI gives our employees the ability to run their work desktop on any device from any location.
The future possibilities in the A&E industry and technology to support such services are endless. Through intentional and strategic engagement, ISG will continue to push boundaries and empower professionals that will turn visions into reality.
Good morning. Welcome. I'm Eric Eby, Director of Information Technology at ISG, and I was asked to talk about VDI and virtual desktops and how ISG successfully runs VDI in an Autodesk environment. So virtualization. In virtualization, we've all heard the term, whether that be cloud computing, as mentioned earlier, companies like VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, Citrix. Virtualization at its core is simply running multiple servers or desktops on a single hardware host. VDI, or virtual desktop infrastructure, is exactly that. It's running your work desktop virtualized on a server that sits in a data center, whether that be on-premise or in the cloud. It's become mainstream in the last 5 years. And just within the last 3, they've introduced dedicated graphics. And that's what really allows us to run Autodesk products. This allows users to connect to a work desktop from phones, tablets, Macs, Windows PCs, or simply inside of a web browser. Anytime, anywhere in the world, with the only requirement being an internet connection. It sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it's not. ISG has actually been running VDI successfully for the last 2 years. So how do we tackle graphics requirements for Autodesk and VDI? It seems to kind of be the major concern, and the biggest issue is you can get that in one of 2 ways. The first way, and the way that ISG currently runs it, is through VGPU, which stands for Virtual Graphics Processing Unit, using NVIDIA grid cards. The first generation cards were their Kepler series, K1 and K2 cards. ISG currently uses their K1 cards. And then most recently, I think within the last 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, they've released their Tesla series cards, and that's Grid 2.0. Just to give you an example, a single Civil 3D host at ISG, we can fit 16 users per server, and Revit hosts, we can fit 64. We currently run Dell R730s, and we can fit 2 of these graphics cards in each server. The second way of going about that and getting that solution is called MXGPU, or Multiple Graphics Processing Unit. Same concept, it's just AMD's solution to compete with NVIDIA. Theirs is a lot newer. I think the FirePro S card series was just recently released 4 or 6 months. Don't quote me on that, but we are currently testing this in our data center. I do not have one in production yet, but so far things have been promising, and we hope to implement the AMD card here within the coming months. So why? Why would anybody want to do this? Well, first and foremost, and the biggest reason, is flexibility. It allows users to connect to their virtual desktop from anywhere. Any location that has an internet connection, you can connect to your work desktop. The opportunities are endless. I mean, if you're snowed in, you work from home. If you're traveling, connect in the car or at a hotel. You get the same work desktop regardless of your location. The second reason is scalability. It gives IT the ability to scale your desktop up or down. For example, if your desktop has 16 gig of RAM and you're working on a really large Civil 3D model and you need 32 gig of RAM, we simply shut down the virtual desktop and within a few minutes start it back up and you have 32 gig of RAM. The same goes with hard drive space, CPU, etc. Thirdly, and one of the main reasons ISG moved, is centralized data. This allows everything to be in a single data center, and your virtual desktops are fully connected to the servers they're accessing. We had major issues, and I'm sure you guys can think of how often do you open a client model that might be located at a different location. With our 8 locations, if someone at our Faribault office was opening a file that might have been on our Minneapolis server, it may have taken 15 to 20 minutes to load or save that file. By accessing and utilizing VDI, we don't have to worry about that. Everything's located in the same spot, and it just makes IT's job and everything much easier. So how did ISG succeed? I hear horror stories of other A&E firms and other companies attempting to implement VDI only to revert back because performance was maybe not what they expected. Where did they go wrong? I can't really say for certain. What I can tell you is what we did right, and I usually break that down into 3 different phases. And the first one is storage. Storage is the heart of it all. When we first implemented storage, we had major issues with our SAN. It ended up being under-spec'd. We increased the controller to gain better performance, and it did solve the majority of our issues. In the end, though, the performance we were looking for was found in solid-state drives. Currently at ISG, all of our virtual desktops run on local solid-state drives in each host. Anybody in IT might ask, well, what's the difference between doing that and something like a solid-state all-flash SAN? I tried purposely not to get too technical in this presentation, but if you have those kind of questions, I'll be around. I'm more than happy to answer those. The second reason is our backbone. We invested heavily in a 10 gig core. I feel 10 gig network connectivity in a VDI environment is very important. To give you an example, if you run a physical desktop running Civil 3D in an office, you're accessing the server at 1 gig speeds. Currently, anything above that is not really supported. So it's highly recommended, and obviously with the virtual desktops being able to access the servers at 10 gig speeds, you gain faster speeds for opening, saving, or interacting with anything that resides on that server. And lastly is WAN. We were fiber focused. We invested heavily in fiber at all 8 of our locations, including implementing an SD-WAN. We found that anything less than fiber just was not stable in our environment. We had 2 locations where we did test coax cable internet. I think we went up to speeds up to 125 meg where they were supported, and it just didn't run. It ran, it just wasn't stable. So fiber was what we focused on, and that's really been a game changer for us. So what's the future outlook for virtual desktops? Obviously, virtual desktops from here are only going to get better. Recently, protocols such as VMware Blast Extreme are lowering bandwidth requirements, and they're always releasing new features. This type of setup embraces the work from home movement. Obviously, I think even at ISG, we have space as a hot commodity. You know, if you hire new people and you don't know where they're going to sit, VDI makes things very flexible in the sense that they could sit in a floater station. They can take a floater laptop, conference room, etc. And lastly, it allows companies to hire the best talent in any time zone. And I think that's a pretty cool reason to look into it. People who embrace that work from home or work remote, and that they have that culture to support it. It's pretty cool to be able to hire anybody in any time zone and have them work in your environment. So if you're interested and this really intrigues you and you want to learn more, my colleagues Jason Douglas and Jamie Steinborn are hosting a class, 903, running Civil 3D in a VM environment. They'll be actually running a live demo on the ISG network connected to the hotel internet here. So if you're interested, you can certainly see that. They'll also run through certain configurations that might have been different in a VM environment that they saw that was different than running it in a physical environment. Just what we've seen, what worked for us, what hasn't, and just overall how we've been able to run that. I will be attending that class, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump in and ask me anything you like. Otherwise, that's all I have for you guys today, short and sweet. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the event.